a stop off at Buffelshoek Dam, sat and listened nice and quietly, just to see if the bush was going to tell me anything about what was going on. And that's actually one of my favorite things to do in the bush, is to go walking, because you really get to experience and to listen and to hear. And more often than not, the bush will actually tell you what's out there and what's going on. And the reason I was looking for the drongo is because they are such fascinating little birds and incredible mimics. And what they've learned to do is actually to work with meerkats in the Kalahari, and they've been documented as having imitated the meerkat's alarm call, so that they can get the meerkat to drop whatever they've been foraging, whatever insect. If they've got something nice and juicy, they imitate that emergency alarm call, and the meerkat drops their food and dashes off into the burrow, of course leaving the drongo to go in and take the meal. Ooh, little Nyala jumping through in front of me. There we go. Got a little bit of a gap. Hopefully this little lamb will stick around. Hi little guy, stay where you are for a second. Very sweet little youngster. One of my favorite antelopes to see out here. They really are stunningly beautiful, with that combination of stripes and spots on the rear end. Really beautiful little creatures, and amazing to see the difference between the male and the female. Huge, tremendous, actually the largest example of sexual dimorphism that you'll see in the antelope species. Very, very interesting. The male is much larger, much darker, very shaggy fur, and big horns. Beautiful antelope. Part of the spiral horned antelope family. Okay, so our little Nyala lamb has disappeared off, so I'm going to carry on. If you remember, I was talking about the incredible drongo that imitates alarm calls of other birds. And what is so, of other birds and also of the meerkat, but what is so incredible about that is that meerkat have actually got a range of different alarm calls, and the drongo has learned which one means to actually drop your food, or snake here, come and mob. The little birds learned to the system, and an area that we used to do quite a lot of manual labor, so we used to go and create clearings in one of the reserves, and while I was working there, every single week we would get a drongo that would come and follow us in the same way that they follow big herds of animals, looking for all of the insects or whatever quick things that we might disrupt and disturb in the grass. I have no idea if it was the same bird that came back every week, but I would like to think so. So, Buffelshoek Dam is a little bit quiet, so we're just going to travel now, slowly make our way down to the Djuma, look around, see what's around and about. I know that you're having a couple of signal issues. Some of you might be experiencing them. Very sorry about that. I know that our tech geniuses will be working on that and hopefully get it all. I know that Steph mentioned to you that an update about leopards being seen. Unfortunately, it was trucks, but also it appears to be outside of our area that we traverse in. So we'll keep an eye out. You never know. There might be a leopard hanging around here, but unfortunately we won't be following up on that particular update. Pittsburgh, on the subject of alarm calls, would like to know whether the alarm calls might differ in terms from birds and from squirrels, and whether they're actually alarming because of a snake rather than another type of predator. There will be a difference, probably a discernible difference for the animals themselves. I'm sure that there is. With squirrels, I generally don't hear much variation, but you will hear different levels of intensity depending on what the threat is. So squirrels have a pretty standard alarm call. It sounds a bit like a witch cackling to me. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, you'll get different intensity levels and different durations depending on what kind of threat they're actually facing. And I'm sure that there are studies into the variations that maybe aren't immediately discernible to people who are listening with a slightly uneducated ear. But I do know that scientists are looking into the different alarm calls and whether there are actually more than we realize in response to different things. And that makes sense for the animals to have a different alarm call for different things. With things like vervet monkeys, meerkats, it's very easy to tell the difference, and there are people who know exactly now at least what some of their alarm calls mean. And it works out in terms of your survival if you can actually tell and warn other animals what the threat is and where they should be aware. Because a squirrel being frightened of a snake that's in the tree should have a very different response to, say, a squirrel that's frightened because of a bird of prey like the goshawk that you saw. So yes, I'm sure that there is a difference, not necessarily immediately discernible from some of the animals, but I'm convinced that there's variations in sound. Oh, the flies are coming back. I think we might be starting to see the end of winter. Well, I always say that in the middle of July and then it gets really cold. But it does feel a lot warmer. There's something of spring in the air. And the days are getting nice and long. It was very, very warm when I started this afternoon. But of course, it brings back things like flies and all the wonderful hawhaws that we get in this area. Hi James, welcome to the Sunset Safari from Kansas City. And James would like to know a little bit about my background. He wants to know if it's true that I'm a qualified walking guide and whether or not I'll be doing walks for Wild Earth. That is indeed the plan. I am a qualified walking guide. It is actually the area that I would say I've invested most time in over the past few years. I've spent as much time as possible on foot in the bush, whether it's tracking things or whether it's taking guests out on walks or researchers. Is my personal favorite way of experiencing the bush, because I feel like you see and experience a whole range of things that you wouldn't necessarily realize when you are driving in a vehicle. So hopefully, yes, that is the plan. I would very much like to be able to take some of the walking safaris, get some wonderful sightings for you guys, and of course everything is different on foot. Animals respond very differently to the human bipedal stance. They have learnt over thousands of years that shape, and they associate that shape with one of their top predators. So animals reacting to vehicles is a very, very different response to animals responding to people on foot. Now I've got a wonderful little clan of one of my favorite animals. Very, very sweet. And maybe if we're nice and quiet, we might actually be able to pick up on their little communication calls. They're all over the road here to my left and right. So I'm just going to be quiet for a second. Let's see if we can hear them calling to each other. Alright, so we don't seem to be able to hear them. They're scurrying off foraging late night, probably on their way back to their burrows. And this is the little dwarf mongoose, and it is one of my favorite animals to stop and see. They are simply fascinating little creatures, smallest predator that we have in this area, and really interesting social structures. They have an alpha pair, and the alpha pair will be the one that breeds, and the rest of the family or the rest of the group of mongoose is there to actually support and help out that alpha pair. And they'll leave their youngsters, some of the older youngsters, in charge of the younger babies. Really fascinating little social dynamic. Beautifully highlighted in the sun there. And one of my favorite things about dwarf mongoose is that they're actually very curious little creatures. And you find that if you get groups that are used to having their burrows on the side of roads, they get very habituated to people. And if you're lucky, and you sit nice and quietly for long enough, they'll actually come out and have a closer look at what you are and what you mean. There's a little guy just peeking out over the top of that bolster. Naturally very curious little creatures, and I have had them come right up to my car tires before. Fortunately, it requires sitting very still and very quiet for quite a while before they find themselves brave enough. And mongoose are always interesting because there are some mongoose, such as the slender mongoose or the white-tailed mongoose, that lead very solitary existences. And then you get mongoose such as the dwarf mongoose and the banded mongoose that are actually entirely reliant on these great family groups. And a beautiful shot there with the sun slowly going down. So I know that there's a bit of a fierce debate going on about the plural of mongoose. I have always naturally said mongooses, but I do not think that's correct. It's definitely not mongoose. It's not like the birds where you have a goose and then geese. I think the plural you'll probably find is just mongoose, like in the same way that I can't think of a good example right now, of course, but it is a word that works as both the singular and the plural. The group of mongoose, not mongooses. But a great question, and one that I've never truly known the answer to, if I'm totally honest. But yeah, totally fascinating. One of my favorite little animals to see, and they have the most incredible way of determining the alpha dominance system that they have in their clan. So instead of fighting it out, as a lot of animals do for dominance, they actually have a very serious grooming competition where they groom each other, as in licking each other, cleaning each other's fur until one simply cannot do it anymore, and they collapse exhausted and covered in saliva. So really interesting little animals, fun to watch, nice little dynamic that they have going on. And they gave us a great show there, but they've all scurried off. I think it's home time for them. The sun is getting lower and there's a bit of threat in the evening, so they're going to go scurry off probably into an abandoned termite mound and settle down for the evening. Off into the distance. So a question about whether with the alpha system, whether they would actually, the alpha pair would lead the way towards the burrow or determine the foraging direction. I have to be honest, I don't really know the answer to that question. I think probably, but I also think that the general group movements will determine, sorry guys, bumping through, sorry Jandre, yeah, the general group movements will determine and I'm sure the alphas have some kind of say in it, but I don't know exactly. And they do have a wonderful alarm call system. I have always been a little bit useless at imitating alarm calls, but they do make a sort of a sound whenever they're alarmed. Okay, quite a beautiful scene we've got going on here, just as the colors are getting really, really lovely. Nice big group of male buffalo. This doesn't look like a breeding herd to me, it looks like a nice collection of males. They're just spending the day here, chilling. I'm sure that some of you who are regular viewers will have picked up on these guys already at our Djuma dam cam. Wow. It's a considerable amount of urine. So just slightly off to the left is one of my favorite birds. Here we have him. The saddle-billed stork. Definitely one of the most striking storks that we have out here. That incredible combination of red and yellow on the bill with the black, and then the black and white plumage. Absolutely stunning birds. Here we can see and some beautiful evening colors coming through on the water as well. So buffalo to me are very interesting animals. They very seldom do something all that active. Usually when you see them, they're sort of standing chewing the cud, or if it's nice and warm they might be wallowing in the mud, easing their way through the day. However, I have seen some fascinating buffalo interaction that involved a pregnant female that went into labor, I think a little bit too soon. Usually the females move off when they are pregnant. They go off and they give birth on their own, and I actually saw an example of why they do this. Her water broke in front of me, and as she was going into labor, one of the younger females in the herd went up to investigate. And apparently this is something that is actually quite common in buffalo. It's also seen in cows. It's something that's sort of known as pregnancy hysteria, and the scent of the hormones and everything involved with the labor actually produced an overexcited response from this younger female that was investigating, and she started sticking her horns in the stomach of this poor female, forcing her up onto her feet. And by the end result was the entire herd of buffalo actually chased her around until eventually she actually came and sought refuge next to my car, strangely enough. I think she realized that it was a safe point because the other buffalo weren't so keen to go right up to me. You'll be happy to know, however, that she did survive and the calf was born happy and healthy. But a very interesting example of why the females go off on their own. There we go, beautiful visual of that saddle-billed stork catching possibly some freshwater mussels, but maybe little fish, possibly some sort of vegetable matter in the water, but I'm sure he's after little crustaceans and mussels and small fish. So this is probably one of my favorite times of day. It's probably my second favorite time of day. My favorite is just before sunrise, when the bush is all new and exciting and you never know what the day is going to hold. That connects very strongly to me with childhood memories of going out to Kruger and going into the bush. Very exciting. But this time of day is also particularly beautiful, and it's always different depending on the season. In the winter you get the nice crisp coolness coming through. It's fresh and breezy at the moment, and that's absolutely, you get these wonderful colors. That's beautiful. You can see why they're at least one of my favorite stalks. Using that incredibly specialized bill just to sift through the mud and see what he can find. Those bills might look very hard and sort of solid, but they do have actually an incredible sensory capacity. So they can actually feel their way through using their bill in the same way that something that probes the grass or the trees, the woodpeckers or the hoopoes and the ibises of the world, they all have incredible sensors on the end of that beak. So I was just sifting through and having a feel around, finding something to eat. Oh, got something good there. So it's really, really nice just to sit in silence and enjoy this. And maybe we can just listen nice and quietly to the sounds of the bush. Not too many birds calling. However, just up and to my right, as we were watching the stalk, I noticed there was a fish eagle that flew in across from the dead tree in front of me to up into the tree on my right. A truly iconic bird, and one that the call is often associated with African river systems. Here he's sitting up in the top of that tree just there. Okay. Beautiful, iconic bird. That gorgeous white chest and incredibly fascinating specialized hunters. So while we were sitting there nice and quietly, not too much in the way of bird calls, I picked up, at least we've got the arrow marked babblers babbling away, calling all together, making a very noisy sound. And then the crested francolins were also alarm calling. No, sorry, not alarm calling, just calling the standard sort of dusk chorus for them, letting everybody know that it's time for bed, this is where they are, and they're off to sleep. I caught a little bit of a starling call, and then the Cape turtle dove was also calling a little bit in the background. I'm not sure if you guys could hear that. But a really nice way to spend a late afternoon, just enjoy the sounds of the bush. So, and the colors as well, truly spectacular colors on the water, bringing out the birds beautifully. However, I think that maybe we are done with these buffalo at this dam. So let's start moving off and we can just have a look and see what we can find. You never know. Continuing the conversation that we were having earlier about my experience in terms of walking in the bush, Jimmerlin would like to know what my scariest experience has been. Welcome, Jimmerlin. It's great to have you here on the Sunset Safari, and thank you for your question. I do have one very vivid experience. I happened to be walking in an area that I was not very familiar with, not where I was used to walk to. I wasn't working there at the time, but I was doing a walk, and I was walking with just a group of guides. There were 3 of us, and we were actually looking for prospective hyena dens, and we bumped into a black rhino, and it charged us, and she charged us. She ran away from us initially, but she didn't go as far as we thought, and what they often do is they often loop around to be downwind of you. So she looped us without us realizing, and had actually only in reality run about 30 meters from where we were standing. And I think at that point, as we walked straight back towards her, she decided she had just had enough, and we were obviously following her. And I have been charged by quite a few things, but I've never been in a truly critical situation where I have not expected the animal to actually turn from the charge. But I must say I genuinely thought she was going to follow through with that. She turned at 2 meters. We measured it afterwards, so I'm not just exaggerating for the sake of the story. It was genuinely 2 meters. And it was also incredible to see, not that I registered it at the time, but how efficiently she managed to turn. Alright, so it's always useful to remember that big animals might look lumbering and a bit clumsy, but they are most definitely not. She basically turned in the space of her body and ran off in the opposite direction with much huffing and puffing and snorting. I will truly admit that I was genuinely scared in that moment. I didn't think that anything was, we were walking unarmed, and obviously we've never wanted to use a weapon on them anyway. So yes, that's probably been my scariest moment so far. And it's also something that I learned a great deal about from that one encounter. So scary, but useful in terms of learning curves. Just gonna cruise down to the dams. It's really fascinating for me to actually have a look at how different the bush is here. And it's always interesting because where I was working at previously is not that far away from here. It is a much younger reserve than the Sabi Sands, but it's very interesting to see the difference in growth forms, and obviously that's all to do with soil type and all the various topography of the land, the climate of the land, the rainfall levels. But in reality I was not far as the crow flies, and yet we certainly didn't get these amazing bright green quarry bush thickets, really stunningly beautiful. As much as I'd like to stay with you guys and enjoy this evening, your colours are beautiful, I'm actually going to pass you on to Steph, who's doing some more alarm call listening, and I will be back with you a little bit later. I'm actually going to start making my way back towards the lions just as it's getting dark, and hopefully fingers crossed, we see a little bit of action from that side. But for now, let's go and see what Steph is hearing.
Well, welcome back to Andrew and myself here. What looks like just the sunset has happened, and I'm told that you've had a fantastic saddleboard stork sighting in Buffelshoek. Oh, I think it was Buffelshoek Dam or Djuma Dam with the sun right behind it. Awesome. Myself and Andrew, we haven't given up. We're being quite tenacious here in this drainage line with this leopard. And I went for another walk. Vultures were actually flying out of the tree around me, waiting for me to go past, and then landing in the same tree again. So we went round the block, and coming back to around about where we saw the vultures the first time, we suddenly listened to a francolin giving an alarm call. And the francolin stopped only about 2-3 minutes ago inside the drainage line that's just off to our left hand side, and I can't hear it again. It's definitely not calling again. I can't see anything. Now the last tracks that I had of that leopard were actually coming right to where you're looking right now. Just on that bank, leopard tracks heading exactly in that direction. Very, very thick bush. As you can see, quite difficult for a car to get in there, so definitely not something we're going to drive around in looking for anything. So I was in there on foot looking for any further sign, and things that trails guys would look for would be drag marks, would be more footprints. I found one leopard track. I found what I thought was a drag mark, but in actual fact it was just an elephant had walked past and grabbed a branch and was dragging a branch with it as it walked, just as a toy I suppose, and was leaving this perfect, and I thought, wow, we've got a drag mark, and then it only ended after a meter in the middle of an open area, and I felt like a bit of an idiot. But it was an old one, and I couldn't see the elephant tracks. I only knew it was elephant because there was a lot of sign of elephant around the area from almost at the same time that the drag was left. Now here Jamie was giving you some talks about her experience as a trails guide. I must be honest that trails guide is something close to my heart as well. Being a trails guide, or being a guide that is able to operate on foot in a dangerous game area, giving an experience on foot is what I enjoy doing. Now, you might think it's quite dangerous looking for a leopard. I don't have any weapon with me, but I almost prefer it that way. It makes me more cautious. Having a weapon definitely is needed if you are wanting to preserve life, and definitely if I get into a tight spot I'm going to wish I had one. But when I'm around on my own, Andrew was on the vehicle, when I'm around on my own I tend to be more cautious than I am daring, and I take my time going through the bush. I avoid very thick places, I use my senses, I use my sight, I look for tracks, I look for drag marks, I watch those vultures, I listened with my ears, but I never found anything, to be honest. I did bump into a herd of impala in there, but nothing with spots. They're giving me a hard time this time. But I'm not dismayed, it's just a challenge. Leopard are incredibly difficult to see, even though we're so lucky here at Djuma to see a lot of leopard, and the Sabi Sands in general is brilliant for leopard. As far as I'm told, some of the best leopard viewing in the world happens right here. There are a few other places where leopard is good. The South Luangwa National Park is fantastic for leopard, and Scott was busy telling me about a park somewhere in Kenya that I can't pronounce or can't remember right now that's also fantastic for leopard. But definitely the Sabi Sands is one of the better places in the world to view leopard. I suppose it would be the 60 or 70 years that people have been living in the Sabi Sands, and probably practicing sound safari practices and policies, that these animals have realized that we're not here to hurt them, we're not threatening them in any way, from a vehicle at least anyway, and have settled down. Many generations of leopard have been taught by their mothers that as long as the vehicle behaves itself and the people on the back of the vehicle behave themselves in an ordered, similar way, they've got nothing to be scared of. I'm just taking the time to listen to the bush around me. It's a wonderful time of the evening as the hot air that was rising throughout the day starts to sink as it cools down. You get it compressing the air that it's falling onto, and it creates this very stable layer close to the ground. And birds and animals have actually learned to use that layer to bounce sound off of it and down again. And you quite often find that this time of the night you have a lot of sound coming at you from all over the bush. What I'm listening for is more alarm calls, more Franklin giving alarm calls, more squirrels giving alarm calls, maybe even that impala herd giving an alarm call. I don't hear anything. It's got a drongo that's busy mobbing something in the tree in front of us, but they don't mob leopard, they'll get munched. We're going to carry on down the road, see what we can find. I'm going to go around the block again, and we're going to be pulling out our spotlight soon and see what we can see. And at the moment my plan is to visit the 2 dams that are in this area and to drive up and down this drainage line and see what we can pull out. That's my plan. Hi Debbie, and you've just asked me a question on Twitter that I have to say a resounding yes to. Have I ever encountered tracks that make absolutely no sense to me? And I'd have to say that probably happens on a daily basis, to be quite honest with you. I get confused by tracks all the time. Tracking and the art of tracking and the skill of tracking and trailing is something that you develop over years. And even though I've been doing this for 16 years and I've been following around animals for 16 years, I still get confounded by tracks, where they're going, what they're up to. Today, for instance, we had leopard tracks going up the road, we had leopard tracks going down the road. Which way was the leopard going? Now, normally what you do is you'd follow the sequence of the tracks and you'd wait to see which track prints on top of the other one to give you an idea of which one is the fresher track in the direction. Well, have a look here. I'm just going to go around the corner a little bit. Andrew's just pointed it out over my shoulder. Exactly where we've been seeing these vultures the entire day. We've now got a tree draped in vultures. Literally right across from where we saw the vultures, the 2 hooded vultures and the white-backed vulture. And almost in exactly the tree we were having a look at the squirrel in just now, to be quite honest. So there we have a hooded vulture, a couple of hooded vultures in actual fact, 2, probably the same 2 that have been hanging around this area the whole day, and the rest are white-backed vultures roosting in a dead leadwood tree with a leopard orchid on the right hand side. Now, the trick would be to have a look at their crops to see how full they are, to see if they've been eating. I can't see that they've been eating. Their crops are not empty, but definitely not full. They're not gorged. Another hooded vulture just flew in. So Kathleen has just asked an interesting question. Good evening, Kathleen. She said, do vultures see on the side of their head or peripherally and almost 360, or do they see binocularly like we do, where the eyes are on the front of their head? And perhaps what we could do is have a look to see which one of these vultures could give us the answer to that. Perhaps the one right at the top. Let's see if we can use this fantastic zoom that we've got. You'll notice that there'll be a slight jump in the picture. That's just the zoom kicking in, this punched zoom. And you'll notice that those vultures have eyes that are next to one another, not on the side of their head. But it's quite tough to see. I must be honest, it's dark already. It's not the easiest thing to see But I'll give you the answer in any case. The vultures have binocular vision. They see out of the front of their head, similar to what we do, and not peripherally. And that's because they're not hunted by anything. They don't need to look behind their head for anything in particular. And what they can do is utilize that binocular vision to scan the bush underneath them. And look for prey on the ground. Now they will roost here for the rest of the night. They're not going to be going home. They're not going to be going anywhere. There's one white-backed vulture that just flew off in search of a different roosting place. I am still convinced that there is something hiding around here somewhere with something dead. Isn't that sort of the quintessential shot? You have some vultures in a tree with a skylight behind them. And myself and Andrew have now come back into this area. We're just doing loops around this area. I'm really convinced that there's something here. I've crisscrossed, I've almost looked under every single bush that's here. I haven't been able to find anything. And for all my efforts, I'm afraid I'm just going to be covered in tick bites rather than show you a leopard kill. But now we're going to take out our spotlight. It's getting to a point where it's getting dark enough for us to take out the spotlight and for us to shine with the spotlight and hopefully pick up that reflection from the tapetum, which is that layer of light reflective crystals at the back of the eye of some of the animals out here. And leopard definitely have a tapetum. And we're going to carry on going. So we've just got actually Diana, one of the other guides in the area, coming up behind me. I just want to give her an update of what we've actually been doing on this road. So if you'd excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick chat to one of our guides, one of our colleagues, and just let her know what we've been doing the whole afternoon. Hey Diana. Hi. No, come in. Just going to have a quick chat to her and tell her what we're up to. Hi Diana, how are you? Good. Hello everybody. So we've been here pretty much the whole afternoon trying to find what these vultures are sitting here for. There's leopard tracks quite fresh coming into the drainage line, but on that side of the drainage line. I lose them just on the other side of this thicket.
Earlier today we had a kudu carcass just at the back there.
Okay.
Don't have anything on it.
Well,
it's really pulled in, so we can't even see it anymore.
Oh really? So inside here?
Yeah.
Well, it shows you what a good tracker I am if I can't even find it, eh? So Diana's just told me that she's actually found a kudu carcass here a bit earlier. They tracked in on these tracks, and there's a kudu carcass that is inside the bushes, literally just in this area over here, with leopard tracks going to it and coming from it, but no leopard. But now that it's getting a bit darker, who knows? Do you want to show me where it is? Good, we'll follow you in. Awesome. So we're going to be shown what, or where at least, the kudu carcass is, and hopefully we're lucky and there's something sitting on it. So we're going to let Diana show us where it is. We're going to follow in which case I'm going to be getting out of her way, and we're going to try and show you what we've been sitting here the whole afternoon for.
I mean, I can't see the carcass from the road now, but I know where it was.
Okay.
So
good.
I'll show you where it is, and then up to you.
Yes, please. All right. So we're going to move out of Diana's way. As so often happens, what she's just told me is that the carcass has been pulled so deep into the leaves that she can't even see it, and she knows exactly where it is. So I don't feel that bad, actually, to be honest. If she can't even see it and she knows where it is, no wonder I couldn't find it. But it definitely doesn't do my ego any good that a lady found a carcass I haven't been able to find for the whole drive. And I'm not being chauvinist there, it's just my natural competitive self coming out. Djuma is a very, very skilled guide, and a highly qualified guide, and a highly qualified tracker as well. She's actually more qualified than what I am in tracking. So let's go and see. Now, no wonder I didn't really see where this carcass was. It seems to be a little bit further away from where we were looking, where these vultures were roosting. But literally right in front of us, Djuma has stopped, and it looks like they are busy looking over to the left-hand side, exactly where we were listening to the Franklin giving alarm calls just now. So for those of you who've been with me for a while, it is exactly where we saw the Franklin giving an alarm call. I didn't see anything then, I don't see anything now, but that doesn't mean anything. So I'm just going to stop here and find out exactly what the story is. And if there's a leopard lying right here where the Franklin was, I'm definitely going to be deflated. Okay.
At the back there, but I can't see it anymore.
Okay.
And there's of course the drainage behind it, so I think it pulled it
into the drainage.
I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, I literally stopped here 5 minutes ago to Franklin giving big alarm calls just here. So,
okay.
So it was too dark for me to walk in, of course, at the time. But yo, literally the Franklin was just the other side of this bush. I was parked 1 meter behind where I am now. So we're going to stick around. We've been looking for whatever it is here the whole afternoon, so I definitely want to see if I can see this.
I think it's been quite skittish, but I don't know.
Good.
Nothing back there.
You superheroes? No, nothing.
If you do see it, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm going to go through that other carcass.
Good luck. Bye bye everybody. Thanks for the heads up. You know, that's why we've got teams out here. Well, Djuma just let me know that when we were busy listening to the Franklin giving alarm call, exactly where the Franklin was giving alarm call, there was a kudu carcass that they tracked to here. Not quite where I was walking around, a little bit earlier, but no wonder, but there's no real trees close by to here where vultures could land and could roost. And so the vultures are a little bit further away, and that's why they keep on coming back, is that they know that there's a kudu carcass here. So you're going to give us just some time, if you don't mind, just to try and see what's inside there. We just had a look with the spotlight now, can't see it from the road, it's in quite thick bush, and if it's a skittish leopard, the leopard might have pulled it into the drainage line off on our right hand side. So I'm going to get my spotlight out, and we are going to be driving in here into the bush and see if we can see it, and using the maneuverability of these cool little bush cars that we have. So I'm just using the spotlight now just to check what we've got. Got nothing in the tree that I can see. Got nothing on top of the termite mound that I can see. Let's go and give it a bash. I'm looking for the reflection of an eye, which will give us the whereabouts of anything. I'm also looking for any anomalies which would not be bush-like. It might sound a bit weird thinking that we're driving around in the bush over here, and what could be, there's anomalies everywhere, but something that doesn't look like a bush is what we're looking for. Seeing where we are. Now, we trained in determining where we can and where we can't drive from an ecologically sensitive point of view. And the bushes that we're driving next to right now are common spike thorns and a Decrostachys here. Nothing that is able to handle a little bit of driving. We're going to be driving. Oh, this is going to be very sore. Big thorn about to shoot into my face here. And we're just going to reverse out of this one before I get poked in the face. Potentially just put the middle of the car over the bushes. Looks a bit thick and dangerous, but it's not really. Don't worry about me. Still can't see anything. That doesn't really mean too much. Sounds like it is, don't worry. See, buffalo have been through here where we're going at the moment. Now leopards typically will hide their kills when they feel that they might lose their kill. And in this opportunity, to hide her kill or to hide his kill in an area that offered some protection. So they don't want to lose as much as we don't want to lose our dinner. Ah, there we go. Can you see, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we've got is I can actually see this kudu kill, and no wonder we battled so much to see it. It's in a very thick area, and I actually think that Franklin was scared by this leopard. I can see a leopard. Here we go. Ha! We've got a leopard on a kudu kill. There we go. Big male leopard. Now I'm going to try and I don't think there's a better place here. Can you see him, Andrew?
Yeah, we're quite good here through a little gap.
Okay. So all our hard work paid off, everybody. We got a leopard on a kill, and I literally was walking around right here. So this leopard didn't move this kill because of us. He's moved the kill because the bush affords him the opportunity of hiding the kill from other predators. Now, unfortunately, he was already caught out by the vultures, which is why they're in this area. But definitely being where he is at the moment is helping him from alerting other vultures to it. Now, he's a big tom leopard. I'm not sure which cat it actually is. Perhaps if he looks up again, one of you might help us with a screenshot. He's just very obscured from where I'm sitting at the moment, so I can't really see it. But a full-grown male leopard on a full-grown kudu kill. Quite well within their range. A little bit heavy for him, but
Should we try for a better gap, maybe?
yeah, I was thinking through this. So we're just going to try and reposition this car. So if you just bear with us while we just move the vehicle, it might get a little bit shaky. We're going to reposition quickly, and we're going to see if we can get you a... Now, while Andrew and I try and get into a better position here for you, what we're going to do is let Jamie show you what's happening at that lion kill, and as soon as we're ready, we'll give you an update, see if we can get a better position here. So enjoy the lions while myself and Andrew try and squash into a gap here.
So guys, welcome back. I hear that Steph's persistence and listening to the bush and following the signs of the bush has paid off, and that you guys have seen a leopard on a kudu kill. So from leopards to lions just goes to show how listening and having some serious patience and listening to the bush, reading the signs, and of course that what Steph is so brilliant at with all of his years of experience, and the experience has paid off, and we've got a leopard on a kudu kill. So as you guys can see, these guys are still having a go at feeding despite the full bellies, and they'll do this intermittently throughout the next 2 days. They'll go and rest for a while, digest a little bit, and then come back and snack a bit more. So Karen in Oregon, welcome to the Sunset Drive. It's great to have you, and I hope that you're having a fantastic time. Now Karen would like to know if this particular kill was witnessed by the Wild Earth team. Not this one in particular. In fact, this apparently came as a complete surprise to Brent this morning. He'd already encountered the Styx Pride, and they'd crossed south across our boundaries, and he was looking around for lion tracks, hadn't seen any tracks coming into the area, and he just happened to come upon this kill. The buffalo was already killed, the lions were feeding, totally unexpectedly, right out in the open. So this was a chance sighting. It was not witnessed by the Wild Earth crew, though I'm sure, Karen, you may be aware that last week they did manage to catch a kill from the chase, and from the stalk and the chase right to the feeding on the buffalo. That happened last week, but no, this particular buffalo had already been killed by the time it was found. Just giving a very strong tug. So you can see now she's actually, I'm not sure if this is the same lioness feeding as we saw earlier, but she's actually gone for a separate part of the carcass, now tucking into the front part. And the rest of the pride are all around here somewhere. Most of them, Junior's still lying where we left him. Flat cat, paws in the air. But the rest of the pride are sort of also all spread out in various places, flopped down and just digesting that heavy meal. Got a very interesting question here, and we can have a look. Maybe if we just move down a little bit from where she's eating. Gail would like to know why it is that the jaw has actually been one of the first things that was eaten and cleaned up, when you wouldn't really expect it, because there's not much, she wouldn't expect there to be much meat around there. Well, there is still a fair amount, but my suspicion would also be that some of the smaller adults, maybe the sub-adult females, who wouldn't necessarily be able to manhandle their way into the sort of the best part of the kill, they would have nibbled on the outskirts. And bear in mind that buffalo are ruminants, so they have 4 different stomachs and they have to chew the cud. So there's quite a significant amount of muscle mass, more than you'd maybe expect around the jaw. So it makes a nice starting point for when you're a smaller lion and you can't quite get into the best part of the kill, then you can be on the outskirts and nibble away at the jaw. It is also probably because when it was killed, it might also have been already where the wounds were from the hunt, and just made it a little bit easier to tuck in there and get into that particular section. So I think that Cecilia has summed up this afternoon perfectly, from a delicious buffalo to a delicious kudu kill. Off with Steph. And yes, it has been an absolute treat. Cecilia, you are correct. We've had a wonderful afternoon and I have so enjoyed being out here with you. But for now, we're actually going to cut across to Steph, who has repositioned, and just to get a better look at this leopard. And I'm sure you guys are all excited to find out if we can see who it is. So enjoy that. I'll be back with you guys shortly.
Well, how was that? Coming from a lion, Africa's largest carnivore, to a leopard, one of Africa's most elusive carnivores, straight after dinner. Now, for those of you who are adept at identifying leopard, this is a full-grown male leopard. Myself and Andrew think that this is Mvula, and he's lying up just next to the carcass. We've managed to squeeze in and have quite a nice view of him right now. He's busy licking the blood and the hair off of his... Have a look at that dewlap. Enormous male leopard. He's just busy licking the blood off of his paws and off of his face from feeding. He's probably lying about 15 feet away from the kill, quite typical of leopard. And we are right downwind of this kill at the moment. And I must tell you that it's definitely a fresh kill. All we're smelling, or I'm smelling at the moment, is tummy contents. And unless this cat is very lucky, I got a feeling he'll probably lose this kill tonight to some hyena. There's some trees around where we are at the moment, so there's a good chance that he hoists what's left of the kudu if he eats a little bit more. At the moment, the carcass is even too big for him to drag into a tree, and he might just actually give it up rather than risk injury. But who knows? A big male leopard like this, I've seen them fight off hyenas, 2 or 3 hyenas in actual fact, and even if they lose the carcass, I've seen them fight the hyenas off of what's left, the scraps, and salvage some for later. But what a fantastic afternoon. We came here, the bush was alive, we saw some vultures, we didn't know what was going on, squirrels calling, vultures returning to the place. I walked and checked every bush. I even stood right here. He was probably watching me. But this kudu was so well camouflaged underneath the bushes that he managed to even keep it away from my prying eyes. And it took Diana, who had seen vultures in the tree earlier on today and saw the kudu carcass lying right underneath the tree, to say that we should maybe perhaps stick our faces in here. And after a little bit of investigation, we found the kudu had been dragged into some thick bush, and all of a sudden, from behind the carcass stood this magnificent man. Now, for those of you new to the show, to identify leopard, you use the spot patterns on their face. Traditionally, the spot patterns underneath their eyes and on their forehead between their eyes, and then their general impression of size and shape. So the 2 huge male leopards that we have in this area, or the 2 dominant male leopards that we have in this area, are Tingana and Mvula. We think this is Tingana. And why not another big male leopard of this size? Leopard are territorial, and they actually fight over territory. Now, the territory is made up of 2 portions, a core territory and a home range. The core territory will sometimes even be defended to death, and the home range is like the skin of an amoeba. It changes, and it changes shape, and it changes form, even daily, depending on what leopard are moving through the area. But this will, I don't know if this is in Mvula's core territory. You see Tingana in this particular drainage line, and you see Mvula in this drainage line. So I think there's a slight overlap of home ranges where we are. He was walking through the area, got an opportunity to hunt a female kudu, and brought down a female kudu. So full-grown female kudu, we're looking at about 110 to 140 kilogram kudu, and he managed to kill that kudu all on his own, weighing in probably around about 70 to 80 kilograms. So that's 160 to 170 pound cat taking down a 220 pound kudu. Ah. Georgianne and Christine have actually told me that this is Tingana, and they're basing that assumption on the fact that Mvula has much more tatty ears. So based on what they know of these cats, and our long-term viewers have got very extensive databases of these cats, they've ID'd this as Tingana. Something has disturbed him, and he's now moving off into some thicker bush out of actually your sight at the moment, out of my sight. He might actually go for some water. I think let's go up onto the road and let's go see if he comes out on the road. He looks like he was going from one place to another. Let's get onto the road so we don't lose him. You'll just have to excuse me while we try and get out of this very thick bush. It's going to be a bit bumpy and a bit scratchy. And I think while we do that, you're going to enjoy Jamie, who's in not as thick bush, and we'll come back to you as soon as we have an update. So enjoy the lions.
So guys, welcome back to us. Isn't that fantastic news? Steph got his leopard in the end. Very, very happy for him and for you guys. And I'm really looking forward to finding out exactly which leopard he's been spending some time with. I'm always keen to learn about new animals in the area. And I really cannot begin to think of a better way to finish my first official sunset drive than sitting with this glorious lioness, properly tucking into a meal and enjoying the evening sky. Winter sunsets are always spectacular, and as the temperature drops, we know that it's going to be a good evening with some well-fed lions and at least one very well-fed leopard. So exciting stuff there. I would just like to extend my warmest thanks to all of the people who have said hello to me and welcomed me. It comes as such a nice not surprise, but it comes as such a nice treat to know that the Wild Earth audiences are such a warm and receptive group of people. So I hope you guys stick with me. I'm very excited about this new venture, and I'm very much enjoying looking and learning about all of this new stuff. And I hope that many of you will stick with us and watch me and grow with me as I enjoy this new journey. And hopefully Steph and I have kept you guys entertained while Brent and Scott and Nikki are off on leave, having a good holiday and a well-deserved one. Possibly one of them with my cap, but that's to be addressed at a later stage. So once again, started out the afternoon with these lions, and with Steph teaching you all about alarm calls and the various signs and calls of the bush. Always interesting, and I hope that with some fresh faces, maybe we bring a different approach, or at the very least some different information for you guys, maybe a new perspective on the whole thing. And she really is a beautiful lioness. So guys, I'd like to once again say a big thank you for all joining me on my first official sunset drive. I'm really looking forward to the future and learning about this and enjoying the time that I get to spend out here experiencing a new area. I really am brimming with excitement, and I'm very keen to share this whole journey with you. So thank you guys, and I hope that you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, or a wonderful evening. And it is very exciting. I'm looking forward to the next few days of learning new roads and new experiences and new animals, and hopefully as soon as possible get some walking going. As I know the area a little bit better, we can get out on foot and really start to get into the nitty-gritty details of things. I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to Gendre and the team at Wild Earth, and to Tara in FC. just for being really helpful and welcoming on my first few days. I'm very excited to be a part of such a wonderful team doing such an interesting and different job. So thank you guys, and in a moment I'm going to pass you off onto Steph, who is attempting to relocate that leopard. I'm not sure if he's got it yet, but we'll just have to wait and see. So enjoy. Thank you guys. Bye bye. I will see you for the sunrise safari tomorrow morning.
Well, welcome back to myself and Andrew, and what a cracker of an afternoon, where we literally didn't even do 2 roads this afternoon. We knew there was something here, and in the end we managed to, with the help of a colleague at least anyway, find Tingana lying on a kudu kill. I mean, how fantastic is that? Shows you perseverance pays off. And I mean, I must say, Tingana got up off of that kudu. He's walked away now into that thick bush. We haven't been able to relocate, but we'll definitely come and try again tomorrow morning. So I must be honest, what a beautiful evening. It's nice and cool. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. I hope tomorrow morning isn't going to be too cold. I'm looking forward to seeing what happened over the night. Let's hope that he manages to hold on to his kill tonight and it doesn't get stolen by those hyena, even though I'm sure that those cubs could do with mommy having a good feed. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Thank you for the help with the vulture questions, and we'll definitely see you tomorrow.